Alright guys, so I'm doing a very quick intro as to what my video is going to be today. So as the title says, it is my bookshelf tour, but the YA edition, because I do have two bookshelves and I feel like it isn't very efficient to show you both in one video just because it's going to be mega long. So today is just going to be my YA shelf, which is right behind me here, and I haven't done a bookshelf tour since almost 2 years ago, which was my first video on this channel. I don't actually have a lot of space on my bookshelf. There are other books that I've tucked away into a cupboard out the front of my house, and I have 3 books on my review shelf, which is a little shelf that I have on my table for review. So those books are Risk by Fleur Furious, The Disreputable History of Frank Yolando Banks, and Coraline by Neil Gaiman. So those books are in there, which also contributes to my YA shelf, but otherwise let's get straight into it. So this is the overview of my bookshelf. As you can see, it is only 4 shelves, and the bottom row there is packed tight. On the side here I have 3 I guess book sets lined up or stacked up onto each other, so we'll get to that very soon, but let's get started. So on the first shelf here I have my Percy Jackson and the Olympian series on top of a, I guess, middle grade picture book story called Raven Girl by Audrey Niffenegger, and then the Harry Potter box set, which is the 15th anniversary edition, I think. So the spine creates the image of Hogwarts, the castle. And then I have these 2 little things here. So the first one is a piggy bank actually, and the second one is just a plush toy that I got from a friend. And then my wallet, which I don't really use anymore, but it's there just in case. And a little box that just has all my, I guess, essentials of every day. So like moisturizer, deodorant, lip balm, eyeliner, mascara, all that jazz. I will show you guys this probably at the end when I can take it all out of the box, but we shall move on to the first shelf. And the first shelf here, the first and second shelf is probably both of my favorite shelves, just because they look prettier and also because they do contain some of the books that I do love the most. So on this corner here I have the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. So the first book, City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass, City of Fallen Angels, City of Lost Souls, and the City of Heaven and Fire, which is very heavy, so I'm going to put this down now. And on top of those I've stacked The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon and The Iron Trial by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black, which is the first book in the Magistrum series. Next up is the Infernal Devices series and the Angel or the Penryn End of the Day series by Susan E. So let's start with this one first. So Angel 4 by Susan E. World After. And then behind here I have the first book of the Infernal Devices series, Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare, the second book, Clockwork Prince, and the third book, Clockwork Princess. Moving over to this side, and we have up here 2 picture books, if I can take it out without this falling. Ugh. So the first one is just an 18th birthday present that my friends made for me, with photos of us and messages. And the second one is Bambert's Book of Missing Stories by Reinhard Jung, which is a very beautiful novel actually. Here we have the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. The first book, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, and the novellas in the Assassin's Blade. And then we have The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer trilogy by Michelle Hodgkin. So the first book, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer, The Evolution of Mara Dyer, and The Retribution of Mara Dyer. Behind here I've hidden 2 books from the Wicked Lovely series. So the first one is Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr, and this is actually the finale, which I have not read because I haven't read the other ones yet, but this is Darkest Mercy. And then we have on its lonesome Why We Broke Up by Daniel Handler. Moving on to the second shelf, and here we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy as well as The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, as well as the first book in the Slated series by Terry Terry, and the first book in the Shades of Grey series, I'm pretty sure, by Jasper Fforde. So that's Shades of Grey. Slated, The Lord of the Rings 1, 2, and 3, which I actually know is not young adult, but I still leave it here for some reason, and The Hobbit. Cool, at the back there I have the Hunger Games series by Susan Collins. I can't believe I just forgot her name there. And I know I don't have a matching cover for them, but I'm living with it. So the first book, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. Next up is a variety of, I guess, fantasy novels. So the first one is Half Bad by Sally Green, and then the Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Han. So the first book being Unearthly, the second, Hallowed, which is my favorite cover of all time, and Boundless. And then I have For Darkness Shows the Stars by Diana Peterfriend. I cannot pronounce that for the life of me. And Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. Moving on over, and I have The Winner's Curse by Marie Rakowski, which is the first book in the Winner's Curse series, and the follow-up to that, which is The Winner's Crime. Both of these covers are simply amazing. And then I have The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer, which is the first book in the Mathieu Alarcon series, as well as the second book, The Lord of the Opium. And this is a series that I've actually really liked. One of the best sci-fi series that I've read so far. I also have Deluxe, which is the first book in a series that I'm not too sure about, by Anna Godberson, and Pivot Point by Casey West. And then I have Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, The Program by Suzanne Young, and The Uglies series by Scott Westerfeld. The covers are amazing, but I'm only going to show you them from the back because, oh, those are what the covers look like. They're actually amazing. With the, like, aesthetically, it's just great to look at. I promise I've read it. I just didn't buy it just for the covers. And in this small corner here, I have Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, which is the first book in the Noughts and Crosses series, but the only book that I like out of the series. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, which is the first book in the Summer series, I'm pretty sure. And To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han as well, which is in one of her other series. I'm so bad at this. I only have the first book in every series, that's about it. And then in this small space, I have The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, Beth Revis's Across the Universe, which I got as a library copy, so it's a bit damaged. Popular, a memoir by Maya van Wagenen, which I actually didn't like as much as everybody else. And Every Day by David Levithan. So if you guys probably couldn't tell, I'm actually filming this part on a different day, because when I was filming the beginning of this, my battery died, so I had to wait for it to charge, so the lighting might be a bit different. Hopefully my bookshelf hasn't changed since last week. I know I did get a few books, but I'm pretty sure I already added it in while I was doing the bookshelf tour. It also might sound like I have lisps at the moment because I'm wearing my retainer, so if you guys don't mind that, we'll get straight into this part. So this is the third shelf of my bookshelf. The third and fourth shelves are a bit, I guess, all over the place, just because they're just jam-packed with stuff, but I don't really look at the third and fourth shelf that often because they're just very low. So I just have a bunch of books lined up here in no particular order, basically. The first one is If I Lie by Corinne Jackson, Black Carn Point by Claire McFall, Breadcrumbs by Anne Ursel, The Cavendish Home for Boys and Girls by Claire Legrand, and then the Fairyland series by Catherine M. Volantes. So, the first book, The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland and in a Ship of Her Own Making, The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Revels There, and The Girl Who Soared Over Fairyland and Cut the Moon in Two. And then here I have Percy Jackson and the Greek Gods by Rick Riordan, which is a companion novel to the Percy Jackson series, and it just talks about the Greek gods basically. Inside there I also have just a random bunch of young adult novels. Mostly they, I think, the first books in series, and I just haven't collected the other books in the series. So I have here All Our Yesterday by Kristen Terrell, which I have not read yet, but it has been on my bookshelf for a while. Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes, which is a fantasy novel that I know everybody loves. Bad Kitty by Michelle Chafe, which is an amazing book on its own, and I'm really super excited to keep reading the series. Cinder by Marissa Meyer, with a few notes for my review on there, which I'll take that off. This is book 1 in the Lunar Chronicles series. Splintered by A.G. Howard, which is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and it is a duology. And A Face Like Glass by Frances Hardinger. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, or her last name. And I really like this. I thought this was a very clever and creative story. Moving on, in the middle here, it sort of isn't too messy. Starting off, this is the first book that you can see. It is Scatterheart by Lily Wilkinson, which has an amazing cover, and it is one of my favourite novels to read. And then here I have lined up The Selection by Kiera Cass, which is the first book in the Selection series. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Dangerous Boys by Abigail Haas. Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Meg Wollitz's Belzar. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. And Guilt and Tarnish, both by Catherine Longshaw. These two are, I guess, like young adult historical fiction. And then in this corner, let's start with the first four here. I have The Host by Stephenie Meyer, which became one of my favourite novels to read. Slated by Terry Terry, which is the first book in the Slated series. Fairy Tales for Wild Girls by Alice Neer, and this is an amazing novel as well. It is a sort of modern day fairy tale, and the illustrations in this are amazing. All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, which I think is actually adult fiction, but I still have it on this bookshelf for some reason. And then we have here some hardcover books. So starting off, we have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, More Than This by Patrick Ness, In the Shadow of Blackbirds by Kat Winter, A Mad Wicked Folly by Sharon Biggs Waller. Read this if you are into feminism, because you'll learn a lot. And Minders by Michelle Jaffe. Then the three in here are Liar by Justine Labalestia, which I really hope you guys can read and tell me what you guys think about it, because it is so confusing that even though I've read it twice, I still don't understand the storyline. How to Save a Life by Sarah Zah, and The Troop by Robert Jackson Bennett. Moving on, and this is actually my last shelf, and hopefully this doesn't take too long, even though there are books everywhere. But over here I have the first and second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. So the first one is Daughter of Smoke and Bone and Days of Blood and Starlight. And then I have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, which is also a fantasy novel, although I'm pretty sure this is adult fantasy as well. And then The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, and if you have not read this, please do, because it is life-changing. The Palace of Curiosities by Rosie Garland, that's right. And then here we have a stack of paper books. So Dizzy by Kathy Cassidy, which is a childhood novel for me. Brandon Moore's Five Kingdoms, Sky Raiders, The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker, Sauve by Celia Reeves, which has been on my shelf for years and I have not touched. Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy, Chasing Boys by Karen Taylor, Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne, 10 Tiny Breaths by K.A. Tucker, which is actually a new adult novel, and Mystic City by Theo Lawrence, which has an amazing cover but not so great plotline. And then in the back here I have the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. So I have here Vampire Academy, Frostbite, Shadowkiss, Blood Promise, Spiritbound, and Last Sacrifice. None of these covers are actually great to look at. They all have a certain human on them, so I might not take them out. Over here I have a few hardbacks just in front of the paperbacks at the back. So first up I have The Glass Casket by McCormick Templeman, Good Omens by Terry Pratchett, Zarina by J. Neil Patrick, which is historical fiction young adult, Vicious by V. Schwab, and Pieces of Me by Amber Kaiser. So in here I have All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven, which I did not like at all, The Other Countess by Eve Edwards, Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, Revived by Kat Patrick, Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan, which is one of my ultimate favourite books to read, but is not my ultimate favourite cover to look at. There is a different cover for this book, but I have not got it. The Tale of Despereaux by Kate DiCamillo, and The Diviners, which is the first book in the Diviners series by Libba Bray. As you can see, the books here that have just fallen, they're just the old Harry Potter series that I have. So they're the UK edition. And then last but not least is this stack here, which doesn't really hold anything that I love dearly. but this is Dusk by Eve Edwards, If I Stay by Gail Foreman, Rosebush by Michelle Jaffe, My Lady Judge by Cora Harrison, Impossible by Nancy Werlin, You Against Me by Jenny Downham, I think she wrote Before I Die as well, Jay Asher's 13 Reasons Why, 172 Hours on the Moon by Johan Hastad, Forgotten by Kat Patrick, and Helen Fitzgerald's Dead Lovely, which was a really, really weird novel to read. Back here I have just 4 books I haven't shown you guys yet. It's Mona Lisa by R.A. Scotty, Ophelia by Lisa Klein, which I guess is Hamlet's story told from Ophelia's version, and I am apparently halfway through, although I know nothing about this book. And the second and third book in the Gone series by Michael Grant, so this is Lies and that is Hunger. And if you guys remember, I did have a couple of box sets on the ground below me. The first one is actually Song of Ice and Fire series, which is sitting right there. I would love to take this out, but they're so big, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. And then I have the Skullduggery Pleasant box set by Derek Landy. And for this one, I probably will show you guys the covers because I think they're pretty cool. So this is the first book, Skullduggery Pleasant. Second book, Skullduggery Pleasant Playing with Fire. Third, Skullduggery Pleasant The Faceless One. Fourth, Skullduggery Pleasant Dark Days. The fifth one, Skullduggery Pleasant Deathbringer. And the last one, Skullduggery Pleasant Mortal Coil. I guess there's also like a companion novel to it, which is Skullduggery Pleasant The End of the World. And the last box set is actually Roald Dahl's complete collection. So I probably want to show you guys these either because they're jam-packed, because I cannot even put this one in anymore. I don't know how they managed to do it, but I can't. But this is Matilda. And then we have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, The Magic Finger, Danny and the Champion of the World, Going Solo, The Twits, Fantastic Mr. Fox, George's Marvelous Medicine, Ezio Trot, Boy Tales of Childhood, The BFG, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me, and The Witches, all organized into a rainbow style, which is pretty cool, I think. So with the Percy Jackson, we have, I can get it out, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse, Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth, and lastly Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian. And these are actually the old covers. I got them right before the new covers came out, but I prefer them better, to be honest. And then we have here my most prized possession, which is the complete Harry Potter collection in the 15th anniversary edition, and it is so beautiful. I have not opened it to read yet, but I've looked at it plenty of times. So I have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prison of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So that is my bookshelf tour. I hope it wasn't too boring to watch. Leave a comment down below, tell me what your favourite book cover is. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day, and I shall see you guys soon. Bye!